I'm bored and I also have a can of worms that I'd like to just rip open. So we're going to look at Asian parents' stories on Reddit. Tiger parenting should be classified as child abuse. I agree. For all those who may not know, tiger parenting is essentially parenting when you're not only super strict, distant usually, and dare I say emotionally as well, and demanding of your children and expect them to excel in all sorts of areas, but you also do not show any praise or gratitude when they do succeed at something. Nowadays, it is usually associated with Asian and Asian American parents with the strict Asian parents. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Caricature. Jeez, that is a hard word to say. Caricature. Stereotypes stemming from this. This not only harms children in the moment, but can lead to several problems down in the future. Children can suffer from social problems, be socially awkward, into their adult lives because they were not allowed to live a normal social life as a teenager. They're also victims of emotional abuse and feel neglected by their parents. Most will likely repeat the cycle of emotional abuse when they themselves have children. Not to mention the mental problems, depression that kids can develop under these circumstances. Also the mere fact that most of them are deprived from living a normal, happy teenage life where they get to explore and find themselves. A prime example of tiger parenting is that of Jennifer Pan. Oh my goodness, yes. Have you seen Criminal Psychology? I will link it below. Fascinating. But yes, Jennifer Pan, basically parents push her at a very young age to excel. She doesn't, probably due to the fact that she can't concentrate under such a hostile family and home environment. She keeps the lies going until she claims she's been accepted to university and working in a prestigious, oh there you go. Oh, I promise it's the dyslexia. Prestigious health centres. Eventually her parents find out the truth and it boils over when Jennifer killed her mother. The extent that the Pan's parents ruled over their daughter's life was a lot. I encourage you all to look up yourself. Parents like these should most definitely have charges brought against them because at some point it becomes obvious that the kids are not living happily as they should be and are suffering in other areas because of it. This is Granted, not every Asian parents are like that. There's different stages for Asian parents, but in terms of the stereotype, they are very, very true. In terms of finding yourself as teenagers, a lot of Asian kids, I can imagine, they don't have that opportunity to go and find themselves. And what sometimes can happen is that they end up living a miserable life that they don't love. It's not them. They either continue living that life because they know that's exactly what their parents want them to be, or they end up going the complete extreme of trying to find out who they are, they rebel and all of that stuff. But what I find personally for me is that you don't rebel in your teenage years, you start rebelling when you're an adult. I got to the point where I no longer care. Yeah, in terms of like, looking for yourself and, trying to find out who you are as a person, this is something that I'm learning now. It is what it is. My buddy in high school who was Korean had parents like that. His brother died at a university party when he fell from the balcony of a 20-story apartment building. And because he brought dishonor to the family, the parents refused to give him a gravestone. They left him an unmarked grave. Me and some few friends scrapped some cash together to give his brother a gravestone so he could have some place to visit his brother. That went dark very, very, very quickly. I might remove myself from the situation here. This is the part where I start questioning whether the parents even love the son. Because there's one thing about being a strict parent, it's another thing about leaving an unmarked grave. At least hold a funeral, have something so that people could go and visit him by. The fact that his friends could scrap up some money and get him a proper burial and their parents didn't, that says so much. I specifically remember in my freshman year of high school getting a panic text from my friend that stated, "Dude, I got a freaking 3.5 GPA, my parents are gonna kill me." That was when I came to a realization that not only is tiger parenting abusive, but you're also an idiot if you think it isn't. Oh yeah. The expectations Asian parents can have are brutal. My own personal experience, growing up, my English was not great, ever. My English was not great and my Chinese was not great. Like that's That's the problem. So if I was in China, I'll say my main language is English, which it technically is. And if I was in England, I'll say my main language is Chinese, and just pray they don't test me on it. But in reality is throughout the whole growing up, I was constantly being told that my English was utter shit. And obviously it doesn't feel great, you know, I have tried, but it wasn't until I was in uni second year and I decided to take my test, my dyslexia test, because I knew there was something up with it, and it turned out I was dyslexic. And even then I was told to not show that report to any employees because no one was going to hire me. So that was my personal experience. Tiger parenting is pushing a child so hard without any regards to their mental health to the point where they succeed fantastically or fail and realize they can control their own life. It's not healthy at all, and if I had to experience, I would surely break. I had a couple of friends who were incredibly egoistical, then depressed because of tiger parenting. I would even argue that even when you do succeed, it's not that rewarding. For example, like growing up, obviously I played classical guitar, and I started quite late. I started when I was 12, and most people when you start music, you will start when you're 6. Normally for your grades as well, you take, you know, a year for a grade. Normally that's the rule of thumb, and my grade 4, I did that in 1 year from the, you know, as soon as I picked my guitar up for the first time ever. A year later I went for my grade 4, I went for my grade 6 again in another year, and I went for my grade 8 in another year. For piano, I did 1 year, no, not even 1 year, I did 6 months, and I did my grade 4 piano, and then I stopped because uni happened. Even though you have got them, like I haven't failed a single music exam. Bear in mind, for ABRSM, when you do your grade 6, you have to do your grade 5 theory. That was all within the 1 year. There's no treats, there's no celebration. It was expected of you. It's a lose-lose situation. Should tiger parenting be classified as emotional abuse? In terms of the stereotype tiger parenting, yeah, there's definitely some abuse in there. The emotional abuse is definitely one of them. You're not even considering them as a human. They're basic rights, their basic needs. If a kid was crying, normally people would have some sort of sympathy to go and ask, what's wrong, why are you crying? Tiger parenting, you know, will tell you shut up. Either shut up or go and look at yourself in the mirror. So it's just not very nice, and it's not doing anything to the kid's self-esteem. Ultimately, I think that is the biggest problem. The kid end up growing up, I wouldn't go as far as hating themselves, but to some degree hating themselves and having to go through and relearn to love themselves again. That is very, very difficult. My mum doesn't respect my boundaries at all. My parents still open my mails. My mum is very loving and caring, but like a lot of Asian parents, she thinks she doesn't need to respect my boundaries. For example, I'm an introvert and highly sensitive person, so I need my privacy space. But she refused to give me any, no matter how much I ask her. She comes into my room whenever she wants, even without knocking the door, and several times a day. This may not be a big deal for some people, but it caused a lot of anxiety for me. She even has the key to my room, so when I lock it, she opens the door with the keys. Why do you even have a key to your room? 2. I have a toxic ex who I'm trying to move on from. I told her not to speak about him several times, however she always brings him up every once in a while and starts updating me about his life. They message each other, weird, I know. Yeah, that is weird. I have to say though, mine's nowhere near bad as that. Mine's not my ex, but my bully. So when I was very, very young, I had my friend, and then when I came back from China, she became my bully. And still 10-20 years later, my parents would update me about what's going on with her family. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know anything about their family. Point 3, she knows how angry it makes me when someone touches my things. However, each time I leave the room for a long period of time and I come back home, my entire room is rearranged and she's moved all my belongings around just because it satisfies her. Again, I told her so many times not to do this, but she doesn't listen. There are so many more examples, but these are just some. She makes me so triggered, and then I feel guilty for being angry at her because she loves me. This whole emotional cycle drives me crazy. Oh, tell me about it. I definitely can't afford to move out. I was literally gonna say, try moving out. So yeah, I definitely can't afford to move out soon. So I got to cope in some way. Any advice on how to deal with this situation would be really helpful. I see a therapist and her only advice is to move out, and that's not an option. Honestly, it's one of these small little things that annoys people, because each one of them, I don't think it's a deal. Like I wouldn't classify that as abnormal. Privacy and space. I think that's more of a personality thing. I would like to know, first of all, how old this person is. It's one of these things that I would say that you got a roof over your head, so it kind of just comes with the house. In the nicest way possible. If I came home and I told my parents that I was a vegetarian, they will shove meat down my throat. Like, it's not even a discussion. Whether I like it or not, it's just gonna come with the house. The same thing if I was a vegan, if I was lactose intolerant, they will just shove it down. Like you're gonna eat so much that you don't become lactose intolerant. That's their mindset. For me, that's how I see it. There's no disrespect intended, but your mum doesn't seem especially loving or caring from your description of her behaviour. She is in contact with someone who is toxic to you and hurts you. However, considering that your mum is toxic too, it makes sense that she would have a soft spot for him. This is the thing, I don't know whether that is how she or he is saying that these are the loving things. From what I was reading it's just the part that annoys that person. The loving and everything, love comes in so many different forms and people perceive love in such a different ways. From what I can see, the 3 points that she's stating, they're not 3 points of loving points, they're just 3 points that really annoys them. This one's gonna be an interesting one. AP, Asian parents ruined my chance of moving out. I would love to know how. Hi everyone, I'm 18 female, living at home, going to community college. To keep things short, my home life has been absolutely terrible as my mum is a complete nightmare to be around. And this month my grandparents and cousins are visiting from Asia and they are here for a while, a couple of months. My mum is extremely controlling and unstable. Our house doesn't have space to fit all of them and I know it will be absolutely suck for my mental health to stay there any longer. I also have ADHD, which is great because while my Asian mum recognised that ADHD is a real, okay, at least you got that going for you. She thinks she's an expert on it. Oh, okay, yeah, you can see that coming. And knows what exactly I'm supposed to do to manage it, which in her eyes, I'm doing none of them. So of course it's my fault and I'm not successful. ADHD and executive dysfunction has also been very debilitating on my life and I've failed 2 college quarters already. As you can see, home life and executive dysfunctions have made me very stressed a lot of the time. Despite my issues, I'm clearly not getting the help I need to deal with them here. So I've been trying to move out. I have a part-time job, but where I am, the cost of living is absurd and I cannot afford to even rent a room. Oh gosh, yes, the cost of living at the moment. Is that recent? Oh, that's 11 hours ago, yep. Yeah, no, that's a whole nother thing, especially if you're 18, you're already doing so well. If you're 18, you're thinking about moving out. My mum holds herself highly for being not like other Asians and having Western style values. While other Asian families want to keep their kids as close to them as they can, my mum will constantly threaten to kick me out and tell me to move out soon. Oh, wow, okay, that is new. I thought she'll be happy when I told her I made some arrangement with my friend to stay at her place for a few months. I need to get away from her and everything and I had sorted out our transportation, food. I offered to pay rent but they didn't want to charge me. Oh, that's really sweet. I was not going to cut ties with my family but I made it clear that I would if I had to. Fair enough. Well, closer and closer to my move out day, my mum freaked. She went to my friend's house and spoke to her mother to try and convince them to not take me in. I begged them to not believe her, but it's partially worked and my family friends are only willing to house me for the remainder of the spring break and on weekends. I can't believe this. I can't believe she would be this cruel and try to ruin my opportunity like this. I was so excited and relieved to be finally out of this God-forsaken house, only to her to take it all away from me. I feel so trapped in this house and even this sound of footsteps puts me on edge. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't know what to do. Oof. When parents start sabotaging your goals, your wants, that's a good time to stop telling them. Seriously. Because I know it's harsh and no matter how big the thing is, get it done first and then be like, yeah, I'm moving out. The only thing I would say is that you can check with your college and see what kind of option they could give you. I do understand where you're coming from in terms of just listening to her footsteps can put you on edge. It's you are constantly walking on eggshells every single day and that's not healthy. Try other friends if you have any. If not, the worst of the worst, and I say worst of worst, you have a part-time job, save up as much as you can, see if you could get some more hours, see if you can get any support from college. and save as much money as you can. Even if you're renting a room, which I believe is probably the cheapest option at the moment. If you're living in Central, don't even live in Central. Have a look, find places that has an easy commute to where you need to go to. It needs to be an easy commute, like you need to be able to do it. If you're going to uni as well, are you moving out? Are you staying at home? Network, don't give up on the first bump in the road. Contact your community college for potential roommates. Ask your friends without letting your mum know. Yes, mostly don't tell your mum anything. Just move out when she's not home. Move most of your stuff at the storage until for a month, a few truckload at a time. Do it wisely. Good luck, you can do this. Absolutely. Yeah, don't tell your parents. I'm telling you, this is the one thing I've learned, is don't tell them. That's what you get when you constantly shut people down. Don't share the news. Don't tell them your plan. Don't tell them your steps. Just don't bother. Never tell your Asian parents plans or give them any detail where you're going or what you'll do. Never give them a full forwarding address. Absolutely. Find another friend to see if you can stay partially at theirs so you can cover the whole period. There's always mistakes of believing Asian parents are rational or interested in what's good for you. Your Asian mum was probably scared that you'll experience a much better life. That is another thing as well, yeah. Because once you move out, they've lost control. If you're currently living with your Asian parents and they are very, very, very controlling, when you move out, it's going to take you a couple of years to adjust, but at some point something's going to snap and you realize that you are happier, you are a much better person, people actually enjoy being around you. Suddenly you're not the loser that you always thought you were. Suddenly your life is on track. Whereas before, when you're living with parents, you don't have any job, you can't get jobs, you can't do this, can't do that, your confidence was so low. It all compounds, and yeah, it's that realization, because the parents will absolutely know. They will know that you're doing better without them. Anyway, I am going to leave it here. Let me know if you've got Asian parents, and if you want to share your stories, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day. Go and watch something a bit nicer than this, and I will see you next week. Bye.